July 2nd, 2005, London, Hyde Park. 200,000 people are packed into the grass, their breath catching in the humid air. Across the globe, hundreds of millions more are glued to their screens. Then it happens. The lights hit the stage, and for the first time in 24 years, the impossible is real. Roger Waters, David Gilmour, Nick Mason and Richard Wright, the original definitive Pink Floyd, are standing on the same wooden planks. They close the set with Comfortably Numb. When that final solo from Gilmour rips through the London night, it feels like more than just a song, it feels like a healing. By the time they walk off, sweat-soaked and smiling, the world's biggest promoters are already reaching for their phones. They are ready to write checks with so many zeros, it'll make your head spin. A full reunion tour, the biggest event in music history. But it never happened. We wouldn't do it for an anniversary, and I don't think we'd do it for money. It would be fantastic if we could do it for something like another Live Aid. And see, that's the mystery. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't even about the music. It was about something much heavier. Now let's go back a bit. This whole thing was Bob Geldof's dream. He was putting together Live Aid to lean on the world leaders before a G8 summit. He needed a lightning bolt.
I think Bob ran into Nick at a party or something. Said, "Will you fucking talk to Roger?" You know, and Nick said, "Well, why don't you talk to him?" So we spoke on the telephone.
He personally called Roger Waters, the man who had walked away from the band in the mid-80s, in a cloud of lawsuits and bitter words. Surprisingly, Waters said yes. In fact, he was the one who pushed the hardest. He actually called David Gilmour himself to suggest they bury the hatchet for one night.
A few minutes, and he said, "Well, I'll think about it." And he called me back about 24 hours later and said, "You're all right, I'll do it." So here we are.
It's been an awful long time since we've all played together, so it's been an interesting experience that I was definitely looking forward to. The first day was very entertaining.
I was thinking, how is it going to work, or which way is it going to go?
Performance was overwhelming. Think about that. These four men had spent decades in courtrooms, arguing over who owned the name Pink Floyd and who got the rights to the back catalogue.
I think it's the shared experiences that we've had. You know, I think it's one of the sort of most important things about life, really, is that business of the things you've shared with people. It is that thing about the witnesses to your life.
But for 20 minutes in Hyde Park, all that legal paper, all those years of not speaking, just evaporated.
It's a bit strange. I mean, it's going really well, I have to say, and it's really good actually to be playing with Roger for this one show.
It was just four friends playing the songs that defined a generation. The fallout was instant, global. Pink Floyd's album sales didn't just go up, they exploded. Promoters started throwing around numbers in the hundreds of millions. The day they announced that Pink Floyd were to play Live Aid, I went out to dinner with a friend and an offer arrived. Literally, bang on the dinner table. For four of us, the Pink Floyd to tour again. An offer of $250 million, guaranteed. We are talking convince the most hated enemies to tour kind of money. Waters was into it. In the press, he kept the door wide open. He talked about Live Aid as proof. Proof that the personal drama didn't have to kill the music. He wanted to keep going. But here's the thing, David Gilmour didn't. Every time a reporter asked, the answer was the same, no. Gilmour saw Live Aid as a beautiful, one-time gift for a massive cause. Nothing more. He didn't want to turn that magic into a corporate slog. But there was a deeper, more physical reason. Working with Roger Waters again felt like trying to run through a waist-deep water.
As being a control freak, domineering, and just trying too much, too often to drive the band exactly where you wanted it to go.
Yes. Yes and no. I may have been domineering, but you either have ideas or you don't. And if you do have ideas, you can't be expected to sit on them like that.
Any squabbles Roger and the band have had in the past are so petty in this context. And if reforming for this concert will help focus attention, then it's got to be worthwhile. It was exhausting. Their relationship had collapsed so violently in the 80s that Gilmour didn't believe they could sustain a real partnership without it turning into a train wreck. He'd built his own life.
I'm not going there. That's it. I'm not going any further. We had a great career together. It was fantastic. I look back upon it with huge pride.
He had a solo career he loved and a version of the band he was proud of. He wasn't going to trade his peace of mind for a massive payday. Waters kept trying. For years he'd drop hints in interviews, basically saying, "I'm here if David changes his mind." It was an extraordinarily moving experience for me, and if that's the way we draw a line under Pink Floyd, so be it. But Gilmour stayed firm. In public, they were polite.
You know, it's now 10 years ago that we did Live 8. That was it was good to be on a more or less friendly basis again after years and years of difficult times. The charity gig, we did sit up half the night carousing and drinking and laughing. So that was good.
They were guarded. They could handle one emotional night for charity, but the 6-month tour, that was a bridge too far. There was this one tiny flicker of hope in 2011 when Waters was doing his solo tour of the Wall in London. Suddenly, out of the shadows, David Gilmour walks out. He plays the solo on Comfortably Numb, standing on top of that massive wall, just like the old days. Nick Mason even joined in on the tambourine at the end. The crowd lost their minds. People thought, this is it, they're finally doing it. It's impossible to go back there without Rick, and I wouldn't want to. It's all done. But Gilmour treated it exactly like Live 8. A gesture, a moment, not a new beginning.
It's over, I think.
Just that simple. It's over. You can call it part of your past now.
Yeah. Other people, I think, have other opinions about it, but you'd have to speak to them.
Then the door slammed shut forever. In September 2008, Richard Wright died of cancer. Richard was the quiet heart of that sound. His keyboards were the atmosphere of Pink Floyd. Without him, the lineup that played Live 8 was gone. He was gentle, unassuming, and private, but his soulful voice and playing were vital, magical components of our most recognized Pink Floyd sound. Gilmour has said since that Richard was the most underrated part of the band. Without that specific four-way chemistry, a reunion wasn't just unlikely. It was impossible. So what did Live 8 actually prove? It didn't prove they could get back together. It actually proved the opposite. It showed that even with all the money in the world, even with the love of millions, some wounds are just too deep to heal. The underlying friction between Waters and Gilmour was stronger than the nostalgia.
I think, and it's not just me, I think everybody would agree, it was really immediately after Dark Side of the Moon. So we would argue furiously about almost everything.
Those 20 minutes in Hyde Park are a time capsule. It's the last time we ever saw the Giants standing together. And they've both been very clear about why it stayed that way. The music was perfect, but the men behind it were done. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Stay strong. Have a good day.